What are housing allowances for clergy? Have you ever wondered how clergy members manage their housing costs while navigating taxes? Housing allowances for clergy are a special type of compensation that can help. This allowance can be excluded from gross income for federal income tax purposes, but it is important to note that it is still subject to self-employment tax. So, what exactly does this mean? The housing allowance is designed to assist clergy members with various housing expenses. These can include rent or mortgage payments, utilities, and even furnishings. However, there are some specific requirements to keep in mind. First, the housing allowance must be officially designated by the church or employing organization before it is paid. This designation is typically made through a formal resolution or agreement. It is crucial to have this in place to ensure everything is above board. Next, the allowance must be used for qualifying housing expenses related to the clergy member's primary residence. This means that the funds should go directly towards housing costs. Additionally, the amount designated as a housing allowance cannot exceed what is considered reasonable pay for the services provided by the clergy member. When it comes to exclusions, the amount of housing allowance that can be excluded from gross income is limited to the lesser of three amounts. The first is the amount officially designated as a housing allowance. The second is the actual amount used to provide or rent a home. Finally, the third is the fair market rental value of the home, which includes furnishings and utilities. If any portion of the housing allowance exceeds these limits, it must be reported as wages on the clergy member's tax return. This is an important detail to remember to avoid any surprises during tax season. Now, let's talk about self-employment tax. Although the housing allowance is excluded from gross income for federal income tax purposes, it is still subject to self-employment tax. This means that clergy members must include the fair market rental value of church-provided housing, or the amount of the housing allowance in their net earnings from self-employment. Understanding housing allowances is essential for clergy, especially since they are generally considered self-employed for tax purposes. This means they need to report their income and expenses accurately. The housing allowance can provide a tax benefit by reducing taxable income, but it does not exempt clergy from self-employment tax obligations. For small businesses, like churches or religious organizations, it is vital to properly document and designate housing allowances. This helps ensure compliance with tax laws and avoids potential issues. Clergy members should also keep accurate records of their housing expenses to support the exclusion of the housing allowance from gross income. In summary, housing allowances for clergy are a helpful resource for managing housing costs while navigating taxes. By understanding the requirements and implications, clergy members can make the most of this benefit.